Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I am going to be giving a monthly recap of everything I watched in the month of November. So the movie I kicked off the month of November with was actually Fanboys. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, I love Star Wars. It's like my favorite franchise. Any like media like Marvel, DC, like out of any all those Star Wars is just is just my favorite. I love this franchise so much, and I wasn't really, I was very little when this movie came out, so I didn't see it, but at that time, seeing it now for the first time, I'd always heard about it. I just got around to watching it, but I love this movie for a lot of reasons. I feel like if you're just a Star Wars fan and somebody who loves this franchise, you're gonna enjoy this movie. It's a fun time. A lot of the jokes in here are funny, and just as far as like a film, it's not gonna be like a high level movie. The acting is pretty corny. But that's the whole point of it. That's the kind of like the magic in it. It's not a movie meant to be taken seriously, but I definitely enjoy it. I feel like a lot of the callbacks and the little jokes that they make are just hilarious. And the plot of this movie is basically you have all these group of friends that are kind of nerdy. You have like this one friend who's trying to like kind of get things going with his life, but he still kind of has that nerd in him, but he's kind of like moved on from it already. And the rest of his friends are still kind of like super obsessed with Star Wars. And then one of their friends ends up getting cancer, and they're kind of like, oh, like we gotta go see the Phantom Menace. But this is like in the movie takes place like before the Phantom Menace came out, so like they're trying to like sneak into like Lucasfilm and try to get an early preview of the movie. And the whole movie is just basically them going like on an adventure to try to like sneak into Skywalker Ranch to see this early. And it was pretty just a fun movie, guys, and I really enjoyed it. And I would say if you're just a Star Wars fan, you're gonna appreciate this movie just because you could tell there's a lot of love that was put into it, and just this is truly like a Star Wars movie that is like made for Star Wars fans to watch and enjoy. So as far as the rating goes, I'm gonna give Fanboys like a 73%. Like I said, it's not like a film that's like, oh my god, it's like a masterpiece, but it's just a fun little movie. And not every movie has to be like a super psychological deep movie, but I love this movie a lot, and just the characters are hilarious. And yeah, I recommend, if you're a Star Wars fan, I recommend you guys watch this one. It's truly a good one. So next up on the list is Materialist. This one just came out earlier this year. It's an A24 movie starring Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, aka Captain America, and you got the Mandalorians in this movie also. But I really enjoyed this movie. I'm a sucker for like romance movies, Loki. It's just the type of movie that I just put on like super late, like at midnight, 1 in the morning. You just kind of like watch it, And I really enjoy this movie. I think Dakota Johnson is great in this movie. Obviously, she's so believable as like this matchmaker, and you kind of see like how her job works, and just the kind of the mental toll it takes on her as the story kind of goes on. And you kind of see like how she really cares about her clients, and just the whole story itself is just a great story. And I feel like the acting in this is really what elevates it. Pedro Pascal in this movie is also really great. I like his role, and I feel like for the most part, like this is just like a great movie, and I feel like just the story itself, you have this matchmaker who's trying to like make connections with other people, trying to make her career successful, but at the same time you have two other guys that are kind of like also want to be with her. And it's kind of like this thing where it's like she's focused on her career, but she's trying to also pursue her own thing in love. She has obviously Chris Evans in this story, like her ex from her past, but she still kind of stays friends with him. It's this whole like sort of like love triangle type thing, but I feel like it just plays out like really well. I don't want to give too much spoilers for this movie, but I feel like if you're somebody who likes like a good little drama, just a fun romance movie, I feel like this one definitely delivered. And I was looking forward to this. After seeing the trailer, I was like, I had to see this because I knew it was gonna be good. And yeah, the Mandalorian is in this movie also. Like, how would you not want to see this? But the Materialist, guys, I'm gonna give it like an 85%. I really enjoyed this movie, and I feel like the acting in this movie as well was really great. And I just Chris Evans is literally me, guys. You know how people say the Ryan Gosling meme, oh, he's literally me. Like, that's how I feel about Chris Evans in this movie. I think Chris Evans himself actually said that this role was pretty deep for him just because he kind of saw similarities in this character with himself early on in his acting career. So I gotta give respect to where it's due. This is a great film, and I just love it. I think it's very emotional at times, and that's kind of like the beauty, of this. You have these great actors, and they're able to put on great performances, and it elevates this movie more. I could totally see this movie if they didn't have the same actors that they did, might have not hit the same, but I'm glad they were able to pull it off the way that they did, because it truly is a great film. Next up on the list, guys, is Uncut Gems. First of all, I had not seen this movie for a while. I was always putting it off. I was like, you know what, I'll get around to it eventually. This month I was like, you know what, like I have to watch this finally. Like I'm not gonna stall anymore. And man, I'm glad that I did, man, because this movie was great and I wasn't surprised by it, but I did not think it was gonna be as good as I thought it was. First of all, you know, Adam Sandler, obviously, guys, you know, he's been in a lot of great comedies, one of the funniest guys in Hollywood, you know, and he kind of had that reputation for a long time. He still does. There's nothing wrong with that, right? He's one of the GOATs, but just to see him take on a serious role, you really saw the range of who he is as an actor. I mean, there's not a lot of people that can pull off this performance, and Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems is truly one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. I'm not sure if he ever got nominated for an Oscar for this, so I'd have to check that, but, you know, the story itself, this movie is literally anxiety. The pacing on this is great. It's like a 2-hour plus movie that doesn't feel like 2 hours, you know. You're kind of watching this guy go on throughout his daily routines, but as the story progresses, it gets more and more intense and the stakes get higher and higher. And I feel like, you know, definitely taking place in like, I think this takes place around 2012 or so. Kind of see like how the scene is at that time, you know. He's obviously a jewel maker or whatever. He owns his own company and selling to high-level clients. He has other people trying to help him build more clients, and you have all these people working for him, all these people that he owes money to, and you just see how it is a constant like state of like anxiety and stress, you know, and he's always on edge no matter what. From the moment he wakes up till he goes to bed, there's always something going on. And this was also an A24 movie, you know, and this deserves all the praise that it gets. If you have not watched this movie, guys, I highly recommend it. If you just want a good drama, a good thriller, this is a great fucking thriller. It's well directed. A lot of the shots in this movie are fucking amazing, and the pacing great, and the acting is incredible, you know. Kevin Garnett is in this movie, and he's actually pretty good for the most part, you know. Someone, you know, I'm a huge NBA guy as well, so seeing him was pretty cool, but he actually is believable in this movie, even though he's playing himself. He is great, and shout out to The Weeknd, you know, he made a little cameo in here also. It's pretty cool, but for the most part, you know, this movie is amazing and I really enjoyed it, and I wish I saw it sooner. I wish I saw it when this came out, you know, but I'm glad I saw it when I did. And like I said, if you're a fan of just drama, thriller, you know, you want something that's gonna have you on the edge of your seat like this movie does, all the way from the moment it starts to it ends, you're gonna be hooked. And you know, for the grade for this movie, I'm gonna give Uncut Gems an 88%. It's very high on my list, and one of the best movies I've seen, one of the best new movies I've seen this year. I've been trying to watch a lot of new stuff this year, and you know, if I feel like for the most part I try not to rewatch as much, especially this year. I haven't rewatched a lot of my favorites. For the most part, I've been trying to watch a lot of new stuff, and I'm glad I'm exploring different films, you know. But Uncut Gems, guys, 88%. This movie is amazing, and I recommend, you know, everybody to watch it because it's one of those great films. Alright guys, now we got Weapons, and you know, I'm gonna be honest guys, this is a very hot take, and I'm not even happy that I have to say this, but I just did not enjoy this movie for whatever reason, and I'm not sure why. You know, I obviously saw the reviews for this movie and all the hype around it. I didn't see it in theaters when it came out. I waited till it came out on Max, so I was like, you know what, like I'll see this later on. But if you guys see my previous videos, you know I like horror a lot, so I had to watch one for this month as well. And I will say though, this movie it's well directed, you know, and I feel like a lot of the acting is good in this movie, and there are great things about this movie, you know, that I like. One of the things that I like about this movie is just the acting as well, you know. It's great. Josh Brolin is great in this movie, and I mean, the whole plot basically of all these kids going missing, and you know, so you have the plot basically of the story. You have all like these kids that go missing, and they're all trying to figure out like, you know, what's going on, you know, why it was only this classroom and not all the other classrooms. And I'm gonna get into a little bit of spoiler territory here. I just wish that or no, just spoiler warning before I go off, my bad. I'm about to jump into this a little bit deeper, but I wish that they kept like the mystery more ambiguous. I feel like just them kind of, as the story kind of goes on, you kind of unravel the pieces more and more, and by the end of the movie you kind of understand like the whole lore behind everything. And I just wish that there's more mystery to it, and I feel like it definitely kills the mystique of the villain. And you know, obviously the evil grandma, she's great in this movie, right? Like she's very just sadistic and just evil, and you just kind of just feel like the dread that she just does. And obviously when she hypnotizes her fucking like victims, it's like, it's scary, bro. It's kind of creepy. And there's a couple of jump scares that really fucking got me. And if you guys watched one of my last videos, one of the first video I posted when it came back, I'm not a big jump scare guy, and I feel like just I was not expecting that, because this movie, for a lot, this is like a really weird movie to me, because Definitely feels like a drama at some parts. Some of the time feels like a comedy. It feels like a horror. Like it was kind of just like a weird movie where like it was a blend of like different genres. Look, but overall, I think definitely falls under like a horror like thriller type of genre. But a few of the jump scares just really fucking got me. Particularly that one scene where Josh Brolin's having that dream sequence and he's kind of staring at his kid in bed and then like suddenly like the fucking just face flashes in front of you, dude. That scared the shit out of me. And there's another one also early on that the jump scares in this one are really good because not only was, I mean, you're expecting a jump scare, but it's just you don't expect it to happen that quick. And I feel like especially now post like all these other horror franchises we've seen, like I feel like jump scares for the most part get kind of corny and cheesy. And I mean, these were pretty good though, you know. And for the most part, I respect this film for what it was. Personally, I think just I did not enjoy it as much. I have to see I guess that maybe as time goes on, you know, I'll kind of rewatch this movie. Maybe my opinion will change, but for right now, I'll give it like a 75%. I respect this movie for what it was. I just wish that again there was more like a little bit of mystery to everything, as opposed to just kind of spilling the beans and kind of explaining why things are the way they were. Like if we hadn't known like why these people got possessed or like you know the reason behind it or who did it, you know, not who did it, right? We know it's the lady, right? But it's like, if we didn't know like the whole lore behind the lady, you know, or anything, I feel like it's a lot of things that we don't know and don't see. We kind of have our mind fill in the blanks. That's what makes, or particularly in horror, that's what makes good horror, you know. That's like why in the original Alien, the fact that you don't even see the whole alien pretty much throughout the whole movie, I think it makes it more scary because you do see him on the screen. His presence is much larger, and for the most part, you know, like I said, I don't want to go on a tangent, but weapons, you know, if you're somebody that likes a good thriller and horror, I mean, for the most part, everybody enjoyed this film. I just feel like for me, I didn't enjoy it as much as everybody else, but that's how I feel about that one. Next movie on the list is 2001: Space Odyssey. I recently did a video on this one already, but you know, 2001, guys, was a very strange movie, and I feel like for the most part, for a movie that was made back in 1968, it's very fascinating to me to see how well it holds up to at this point still, you know, in 2025. And as far as like, you know, science fiction movies is obviously like the Bible, you know, it's like the holy grail of science fiction. You know, this has inspired so many different science fiction movies and so many franchises. Like without this movie, might have not had any like Star Wars, you know, or Alien or whatnot, you know, all these other franchises, you know, that science fiction, you know, the whole science fiction genre and filmmaking is really like, it wouldn't be like possible without this movie. It wouldn't be as big for sure, that's for sure. It wouldn't be as big if it wasn't for 2001. But you know, Stanley Kubrick, you know, like I said in the past, the guy is obviously a genius when it comes to filmmaking, and you have to respect this movie. I mean, this movie came out like almost 50 years ago and it still holds up. And I feel like watching this for the first time, I went in with high expectations. I was like, you know, it's Kubrick, it's gonna be great. And I understand why people might not like this movie. Halfway through this movie, I was like, you know what, dude, like I think I might turn it off actually. I was like, dude, this is pretty boring, but I would say you gotta give the movie a chance to kind of evolve, and as time goes on, you know, in the film, it kind of gets better, you know. And I feel like the whole plot about like how like taking over the whole spaceship and you know having it's like kind of like a mental warfare, you know, with the AI. And I feel like this is a very interesting movie, you know. But like I say, you know, I've done a video on this one already. You guys can check it out. But 2001, I believe I gave it like an 84%, I believe, in my last video. I mean, it's a great movie, and I feel like if you're a fan of, like, if you haven't seen this and you like science fiction, I mean, you have to watch it, you know. And, you know, I'm gonna get into a little bit of spoilers here, you know. Obviously, the ending is very well known, it's famous, and I don't even understand it to this day, you know. Like, I don't even know what it means, but I feel like, I think that's the beauty behind it is, like, I don't think Kubrick might not even know what a lot of his stuff means, you know. So, it's great to see him do great films, you know. Kubrick is obviously a genius, and we talk about Kubrick, like what he's most known for, this is definitely one of those movies for sure because it is a great film. Now, these two movies, I did not expect to watch them, but I'm low-key glad that I did. And this is kind of surprising for me because I don't really watch movies like this. I'm going to put them both together in one. So it's going to be the first Wicked and Wicked for Good that just came out. Now, I'm somebody who, earlier this year, I watched The Wizard of Oz, and for the first time, just because, you know, I was very curious about it, I know the whole lore behind the production and just the fact that it was like a whole shit show, and just, I was very fascinated, you know, for a movie that was made almost 100 years ago, 1938, the original Wizard of Oz. I mean, for them to create something like that at that time, I find that very fascinating. So going to rewatch The Wizard of Oz, it was a great film, and I feel like, you know, definitely, you know, it's one of the most important movies in filmmaking history. It was very revolutionary. Obviously, the whole Technicolor thing, you know, that was a big step at that time. And obviously, I know Wicked is like a play that kind of is like a prequel story to Wizard of Oz. I'm not sure if Wicked is canon to the Wizard of Oz. I think it is, but I feel like in this particular film series, it sort of feels like a spin-off more, but that's not to say that it's bad. I mean, the first Wicked, guys, is a great film. This is coming from somebody who, I don't really watch musicals, but like I said before, I try to step into the world as I watch a movie. And this world, obviously, this movie is very over the top. Performances are very over the top, but that is the point of this movie. And if you can't really wrap your head around that, or you're like, you know what, you can't really get into it, then you're not gonna really appreciate this movie for what it is. Because there's a lot of like emotional parts in this movie. There's some moments I was like, damn, that's kind of deep, you know? And I feel like seeing Elphaba's character arc for these two movies is great, you know? I feel like definitely makes you empathize with her way more. And it definitely gives her way more character arc and lore, and it kind of makes you see, obviously you see her through a different lens, you know, you see her compared to like, let's say the characters in the movie themselves, like they just see her as this evil witch, but like seeing kind of her story and seeing how like she's judged by everybody and nobody likes her, but she has this gift, you know, and has these powers, and she wants to use these powers for good, but ultimately have all these people turning on her because they don't agree with her beliefs, even though, you know, obviously she wants to save the animals, and you know, you have these people that don't believe her. And obviously, I'm gonna get into a little bit of spoiler territory for the first movie. Her obviously meeting the wizard and her kind of realizing, wow, that this guy doesn't really have any powers, and you kind of see how she feels betrayed by everybody, and just, I mean, for I would say, guys, this movie is great. It's a little bit long though, almost 3 hours, but the pacing is great. This didn't feel like a 3-hour movie for the first Wiki, you know, it felt very like it was flowing very well, and I can totally understand if you don't like musicals, but obviously I feel like it definitely like gives more context and kind of exposition to the plot in a way. A lot of these songs are great, and you know, Ariana Grande is Glinda. I mean, I know this like Wicked franchise has been like so like inspiring to her, and she really wanted to do it, and I'm glad that she did it because she's obviously great in this role, and she's obviously a great singer already in general, but obviously in this type of style is very different type of style of singing, and you know, she did great for this movie. But Cynthia, man, oh my god, Cynthia hit this out of the fucking park. She was great in Black Panther, obviously. She's great in a lot of movies, guys, but I think this is gonna be the role that she's known for the most, and definitely her most inspiring role. I mean, she is great. You really feel like the emotion from her character, and particularly at the end of Wicked 1, that musical number Defying Gravity, that is one of the best, not only musical songs, that is one of the best endings I have ever seen in any movie. It is very powerful, and just her performance is great, and it's believable, you know, when she's singing, and you know, you listen to the lyrics, you know, it's talking about, you know, that she's just ready to kind of go out, you know, into the world, and she's not afraid anymore, and she's really just gonna, you know, take command, take charge, you know, in her life. And I thought that ending scene was very inspiring, and definitely kind of caught me off guard. I was like, damn, this is fucking deep. I had chills watching that shit, bro. Like, fuck, man, that's crazy. And the ending shot where she kind of flies over and it says "to be continued" at the end was fucking brilliant. I mean, that's cinema, guys. That is a great fucking film. For the first Wicked, I think I gave it like an 85%. You know, I think it's great. And I think if you're somebody who's like just heard all this Wicked hype and all, obviously because Wicked for Good came out and you heard all the, oh, Wicked, you see Wicked everywhere, bro, and you think it's corny, like, trust me, I thought about that too. But these are actually good movies. And first, for the second one, Wicked for Good, I'm gonna get into it for a little bit as well. This is not as good as the first one, but it's still a great film, and I think it definitely hits those emotional points to a T as well. You feel the weight of this movie. You kind of feel like, you know, Elphaba is kind of in hiding, and she's trying to, like, she still wants to get that message across. She's trying to let people know that the wizard's not really who he is, but, you know, you can tell that she's kind of just in a different arc in this movie. Obviously, Glinda's kind of been promoted as, like, this good witch. She's trying to keep this persona to the people of Oz, and you know, and you kind of see how like she kind of feels like, you know what, like she knows Elphaba is a good person even though everybody hates her, and you kind of see how like as the story goes on, you kind of see how they cross paths again, and you know, all this stuff. I don't want to get into too much spoilers for the second one, but you know, second one as well had great acting, and definitely this kind of has a lot more unanswered questions from the first Wicked, and it kind of ties into the Wizard of Oz from this kind of world, you know. You know, for Wicked for Good, I'm gonna give Wicked for Good like a 70. What did I have it at? Give it like a 76%. You know, this movie is a great movie. Definitely hits a lot of the emotional points that it did in the first movie. Some people might say it's more emotional than the first movie, and I can definitely agree to a certain extent. Especially in the third act, particularly, you know, you kind of feel like it's very grandiose, and you kind of feel like, you know, this is it, guys. You kind of feel like all the weight of the movie is kind of coming all together, and a lot of the musical numbers are great in this movie as well, and that's what I like, you know. for a movie that was based off a play and a play that was based off an old movie and a movie that was based off an old book, you know, I feel like as far as the Wicked movies go, you know, definitely not my type of style of film that I particularly watch, but you know, like I said before, I'm watching new stuff now and definitely just tapping in, you know, and that's the beauty about filmmaking is that you can appreciate different types of movies. You know, you don't have to just watch, even, you know what, I'll even say this, like if you only like watching one genre, like, and that's your favorite genre, then that's cool, you know. But for me, it's like music. I feel like you definitely like to, for me personally, I like to definitely watch different stuff because it definitely makes you see things differently, you know, making. I went into these movies with like open perspective and I wasn't judging them just because they're musicals. I was just judging them basically just off the films that they were, and they're great. They're greatly directed and a lot of shots are great and the musical numbers are great. And if you're somebody that can put aside, you know, oh, this is corny, you know, oh, it's not for you, you know, you actually just kind of forget about all that and you kind of just enjoy it for what it is. These are fun movies and, you know, I'll recommend them. Next up on the list is the Reverse Hangover, directed by, what the fuck is this guy's name? Damn it. Todd Phillips. You know, obviously, you know, talking about great comedies, there's Step Brothers, there's The Galleon Nights, there's Grown Ups, there's Superbad. There's a lot of them, you know, and that's what I feel like. Those 2000s comedies are always just funny to watch because they're kind of just movies they kind of just chill back, relax, and turn your brain off, you know, for an hour and a half, you know. And the original Hangover, guys, is great, and it was so great that I want to watch the other two, even though people say they're not as good. I'm still gonna watch it because this movie is great, and there's a reason why people say it's one of the greatest comedies of all time because it really is. You know, the plot of this movie, you have a friend who's getting married, but the night before he's gonna go out with his friends to Vegas, and they kind of go crazy, and they kind of wake up the next morning like, what the fuck happened? And I feel like just them kind of unraveling the mystery as to what happened, and they're kind of trying to find their friend who went missing. It is so great, and it is funny, and you feel invested in the story and the characters. And Bradley Cooper in this movie is fucking great. I love him in this movie. That he plays that cocky kind of arrogant guy role perfectly, and there's definitely some great cameos in this movie, you know. Mike Tyson in this movie is pretty funny, and this is definitely a movie that if you have not seen it, I don't want to spoil it too much for anyone who hasn't seen it, but The Hangover is a great fucking movie. It's a classic. If you have not watched this movie for whatever reason, you need to watch this shit because it is fucking hilarious. And I know I say I wasn't getting into spoilers, but you know, spoiler warning for this movie from here on out. The ending sequence, the ending credits where they show all the pictures of the night before, that was fucking hilarious, and it's so great, and it's something that I've never really seen in a comedy movie before. You know, the whole movie you're kind of thinking like, you know, you're like the audience, like, you know what happened. You kind of little bits and pieces throughout the movie kind of discover, oh, these people were there the night before this thing happened and they were doing this and that. And it's like right at the very end you kind of get the whole picture of what happened, and it's hilarious. And a lot of these photos are iconic. This photo of Alan right here, just in the fucking casino, is one of the greatest photos of all time, guys. I'm gonna give The Hangover an 87%. This movie is one of the best comedies of all time, and you know, if you have not seen this movie, guys, like, you have to see this shit because it's fucking hilarious. And I'm not sure about the other two movies. I'll probably watch them some way down the line, but the original Hangover is 87%, guys. It is classic. Wrap up everything I watched in November. The last movie I watched this month was Companion. Came out earlier this year, I believe. And guys, this movie is great for a lot of reasons. I did not really know this movie was about going into it. I was like, you know what, like, I just kind of want to watch this movie because it looked interesting, and I was like, you know what, like, let me just see this. Sophie Thatcher as Iris, guys, she is fucking great in this movie, and I love her performance. If you guys don't know the plot, I'm gonna break it down a little bit. I don't want to get into spoilers for this movie because it just came out. You know, if you guys haven't seen it, like I said, for all these movies, they're all good and I recommend it. But basically this movie is about like an AI robot that just kind of goes rogue, and I feel like definitely like this movie is great. When I first watched it, I did not think this was a movie about AI, but kind of as you go on, I'm like once you kind of figure out that she's a robot and shit, it's fucking just, it's funny. And I feel like this movie definitely has funny moments. It's definitely like a horror / comedy type of movie / thriller, I guess. This is not like a typical like horror, like psychological, like, oh, there's like a deep horror movie, but this is obviously just a great movie, and I feel like definitely kind of explores a lot of themes, you know, especially you kind of feel like now that AI is the way that it is, I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if we're like this, you know, 15-20 years from now. You might have little fucking AI robots, dude, that are like people's girlfriends and shit. It's very fucking interesting. But you know, Jack Quaid as well is great in this movie, and just a lot of performances, you know. Lucas Cage, you know, he was in Euphoria for a little bit, he was good. Megan Suri was good. This is a great movie for the most part. Definitely just like a fun movie to put on, and I'm gonna get into a little bit of spoilers. You know, obviously the whole ending is great, and once she kind of gains full consciousness back and she kind of has full control over her body, you kind of see how she like takes over and shit. It's just great. I mean, Jack Wade in this movie also is just fucking great. He plays that very like narcissistic, like just lying bad person, you know, and he's great in this movie. And I just wish that they kept the ending like a mystery, because in the very first like dialogue, she's oh, this is how I met what's the guy's name? This is how I met Josh, right? And she's like, oh, and then there's two moments in my life where fuck. The only complaint I have with this movie is I wish they didn't spoil Josh's death literally in the first opening dialogue moments. But other than that, it is a great fucking movie and definitely just a fun movie to put on, you know. It's definitely a movie that I recommend, you know, if you have not seen it. It is great, and I'm gonna give Companion like an 84%, you know. It was definitely worth watching and one of my favorite new movies of this year, and I recommend it. Like I said, if you like just want like a good thriller comedy type of movie, it's definitely worth it. And there's a little bit of graphic parts, but for the most part, it is a great movie. Well, there you have it, guys. That's everything I watched in the month of November. Like I said, I kind of watched a lot of different stuff this month, stuff that I usually didn't watch, and some of the weird shit, you know. 2001 was definitely a fucking trip in the most part, and I was not expecting to watch Wicked, both of the Wickeds at all, but I still enjoyed all these movies for the most part. Now, for the best movie I saw this month, I'm going to give it to Uncut Gems. I think this movie took the prize for this month. Just, it was so intense and the acting was great, and I truly enjoyed this movie, and it's definitely the best movie I saw this month. But other than that, guys, thank you all for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
What? Do what?
Let the dogs out, you know, like, who let the dogs out? Who?
Who brought this guy?